Hi. So the last time I talked to you guys, we were talking about fear, and the last one I talked about was a fear of losing, and my thought was even like losing my family. And my next topic was going to be about fear of not fitting in, which is something I'm very familiar with. I grew up not fitting in. Even I think about it like with my family. I lived in a house where my mom, my brother, and my sister are all blonde. And yeah, I got blonde now thanks to man-made chemicals that's made me blonde, but I was the brown hair, chubby, emotional person that lived in this house. And so I understand what not fitting in. I also grew up with going to school and not fitting in. I didn't have very many friends, made fun of quite a bit, and bullied horribly sometimes. And um, some things that I went through in elementary school and junior high that were pretty traumatic. But with it all, I always stayed strong and understanding that life, there was something more. So this was going to be the topic for today, but I just spent literally over 2 hours with my pastor at a meeting that was supposed to be only a half-hour meeting, and ended up 2 hours of really emotionally talking to him and breaking down quite a bit. So don't be surprised if I do it again in this video. So bear with me on some of the subject I am going to talk about. And I told you guys many times that I will be talking about certain subjects throughout this journey that I'm not proud of, and some of it's very painful, and some of it's things that has happened, and so forth. But everything, like I've said before, has made me the strong and person I am today. My heart always feels sympathy and empathy for everybody I meet, and I truly love people. I mean, I can't explain it, why and how. My heart just loves. But it's I'm definitely an emotional being. I feel pain, I feel happiness, and I feel it with deep in my soul that I can't understand. And so I'm going to start with my story a little bit today. That's a little different. I just got done with my pastor, because some of you think, okay, you're a Christian. What's the big deal? But today I was talking with them, and it made me think about like where I'm at today, who I am today. Like, I think back at a lot of things, and like sometimes I always say, like, I shouldn't be where I'm at today, considering where I was and what my life was like. So my dad left when I was 5, and my mother, about 5.5, 6, fell deeply in love with a man who I was very close with, but she was obsessed in a small way with this man too, where it was okay for her to sometimes leave my sister and I alone for weekends while she went off with them and so forth. And so we were definitely not her priority, and that was hard. Um, so by 6th grade was actually the first time I even smoked pot. I tried marijuana in 6th grade, and I look back at like, oh my gosh, 6th grade, you were such, like, I look at kids today and I think, how? But then I think back, like, even young people that I grew up around, it seemed so normal. Like, it seemed like an okay thing. And I was exposed in 6th grade to things that most kids should never see. I was playing spin the bottle with older children and doing things that, like, I was so young. Um, I went to, at 13, I was at a carnival, hanging out with carnival people, drinking alcohol in their trailers. And like I said before, I didn't have like anybody there to tell me what was right and wrong. And I didn't know right from wrong. Um, just whatever was in my heart, knowing deep somewhere that I was feeling this wasn't right. Um, and then, school, I didn't have friends. And it's crazy because I'm friends with them on Facebook today, because I think to myself, well, we were kids and I let it go. It doesn't, it, what happened then doesn't make who they are today, as we all grow and we become better people and so forth. But so I was teased a lot, and so again, I didn't have an education. I couldn't read or write. I think when I dropped out of school at 16, I think maybe I was reading at second grade level. I wasn't very good at all, and spelling definitely wasn't happening. And I remember I was working at Wiener Schnitzel's and going to my mom and saying, "Hey, Mom, I don't want to go to school anymore. It's too much work. I think I just want to work at Wiener Schnitzel's the rest of my life." And remember, as a child, my mom said, "Okay, if that's what you want," and so I did. That's when I left, and by then, I was smoking pot on a regular basis. Had it always in my purse, and drinking, partying with my friends, and not knowing what I was supposed to do with myself. I had no guidance. I can honestly say, as a child, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have any adults really telling me how to be as a person. Even with in the childhood, my mom, and at the time he was her boyfriend, cheated. So I grew up thinking that affairs was very normal. It was just what everybody did. We were exposed to it all the time. And so I didn't even understand that. And so 16 to 18, I was partying all the time. Just too young to be doing things that I was doing. And so I do remember, though, at 18, I finally thought to myself, this was stupid. Like, smoking pot made no sense to me. And so I up and quit. I just stopped. I thought it was the stupidest stuff and didn't make any sense why I was wasting my money. And my very first boyfriend, I should say, I had a first boyfriend at 18 because most of you don't know, but I was very overweight. I was made fun of all the time about how chubby and how overweight I was. So between that and growing up being told I was stupid, I was fat, I was ugly. We grew up thinking that we were a burden. I don't ever remember feeling in any way that I was anything better than less than nothing. So it was really hard. And so, as you can imagine, my self-worth was not the best. So my very first boyfriend, of course, was pot smoking, drunk, DUIs left and right, and verbally very abusive to me, and said things to me that were not always what you would want your daughter or anybody to ever have to hear from somebody. Was told many times he would never marry me because I was too fat, and so I grew up with feeling worthless, that I didn't deserve anything. Sorry, this is hard on me. I didn't get told ever that I was anything better than trash, especially coming from this gentleman that I was with. His mother and family were well off, so I was the white trash and felt very much like I was white trash. And so who I was what other people told me I was. But something within inside my heart, I always stayed strong. I always fought a little harder to just do something better. And ended up breaking up with him, and right away got involved with a gentleman that ended up being my first husband. And by 23, I was pregnant. And I wasn't married at the time. My ex and I weren't married. We were both wild, crazy partiers. I wasn't smoking pot, but I sure did drink a lot and loved to party. And you talk about a fear. Oh boy. Fear wasn't even the word of it. I found out I was pregnant and didn't know how that was going to happen, but deep down in my heart, I knew I wanted this baby more than anything. I just felt it. I had no idea at all how to be a mother. I didn't have an upbringing with a mother that was somebody that I looked up to as someone that was going to helped me get through. I can't say that because, you know, there was times where my mom was very helpful, but I had no clue what a real mom was. I mean, one that was strong and taught you how to be a good person and who uplifted you. But I was pregnant and I was scared. And the crazy thing is, I had never even changed a diaper. I've never babysat a child, let alone raised one. So as you can imagine, all I kept thinking is what I was told. I was gonna screw this up big time. How could someone like me be a good mother? How could someone like me bring a child into the world and raise it and so forth? So, but I did. I decided this was something I wanted to do, and so I was 23. I gave birth to my son, and I remember looking at him, thinking, "Oh man, I'm gonna mess this up." Was told never that I do anything right in the first place, let alone raise a child. So, but I remember looking at him and thinking to myself, the best thing I can do is just love this child and tell him daily how much I love him and tell him how important he will be and try to do my best to always uplift him in every way I can. But as a mother, yeah, you fail. It's a tough job. And yes, I've made huge mistakes, but I do believe I made some good ones as well. So I was pregnant, had a baby, and now I had this beautiful little boy in my arms, and I was in a relationship where I did get married to this man, and but at the time he didn't stop drinking. Obviously, I thought partying was ended, and so I stopped the craziness, and so my ex chose not to. And for the first 2 years of my son's life was a lot of him coming home drinking and very angry, very verbally abusive, and sometimes physical. And I remember it was right after my son turned 2, and it was in November, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was only 25, and I had to get out, and I left. I sent my ex to get milk, and I packed as much as I could in that short period, and I left. And it was scary, and I had nowhere to go. I went to my mom's for a little while, but she wouldn't let me stay there, so I ended up renting a small little condo apartment type thing that I had stocked away a bunch of money. Every time I got a little bit of money here and there, I would hide it, and so I could at some point escape from the situation. And so I left, and was out for 6 months, and in that time my ex promised he'd stop drinking, and I ended up going back. This is all the very short and quick version of it, because as you know, I'm in the process of writing this book, and I'm hoping that it helps others to understand how life is, and that you don't have to stay down just because people want you down, and you always can be up. You can always fight through everything that you go through. And so very shortly, I stayed with this man for 10 years. He went back and forth in that 10 years to drinking, not drinking, and also in that 10 years. There's some things that later on I will tell you about that happened, but that I'm not all proud of, and that hurts me deep down in my soul. But through that 10 years, I also had my second child, my daughter, and I was so excited to have her. She was just a firecracker from the time she came into this world. So briefly after that, I got divorced at 33 and raised my kids and made some other stupid choices, which I'll go into, how stupid things. But, through it all, I'd never in my life, and this is where I'm going to go to why I truly believe there's a God, never in my life have I ever had a mentor or a human force or human body guiding me. It's so funny. So many times I go to these things and like, who's your mentor? And I don't have one. Um, Throughout my life, I didn't have a church when I was growing up, so I didn't have any kind of upbringing there. I didn't have any positive, strong people telling me right from wrong. Even my mother, most of the time, her advice wasn't always, so I look back now, was not probably always the best advice. I mean, I was told very young that there's no such thing as love. Fairy tale love is not true. And finding family is, there's no such thing as a real families, and, just different things that I was told. So I didn't have that strong. But through it all, I believed that there was. And no matter what people told me, I believed. So I was talking with my pastor today, and we were talking about it, and it made me realize today how much God had been there since the day I was born. That's the only thing I could think of is if you had to have a guidance, had to have been Him. He guided me constantly to keep going, to constantly fight, to constantly believe there's good in every single person. I have had people that hurt me, and I still love, love, love. Because if I stop and I allow these pains and this ugly to take me to a place of hate and anger and all that, then all that does is allow the enemy, the devil, to take over my emotions. And I truly believe that I had God the whole time. Yeah, my relationship with Him really got strong the last 2 years, but I look back of everything that happened to me and how much He had to have been there. He had to keep me going. I mean, what else got me here? Because technically, statistically, if you look at statistics of a dropout, a pregnant at a young age, started doing drugs at 6th grade, was exposed sexually at a very young age, how could I not be in a place of on the streets or just in ugly or hate or anger or frustration? How can I not be that with all of it? And most people that meet me would never ever guess I went through that. They're always shocked when I talk about certain things. They're like, wow, I would never guess that, because I truly feel happy. Even though so much happens, I love people. I love the world. I love everything about creation that God created. So where did I get this? How do I have this? And that's when I know there's a God. That's how I know there's a God, because through all of it, I could still find joy in everything that ever happened to me. And I could still find positive. Am I emotional today? Did I cry? Do I cry? Yes, all the time. Ask my family. They made fun of me since I was young that I was always an emotional, oh, there goes Kim, crying again. But I stayed strong. And I know now it was God making sure that I got through it all. And why did He make sure I got through it all? So I can sit here today and tell every person that no matter what, please don't ever let something hold you down. Don't let other people's words tear you down. Don't let other people's opinion of you make you stop moving forward. Because if you allow that, then they win. And the dark and the devil and the enemy takes over. You always have to fight, and you always have to stand up, and you always have to keep going. My heart hurts now, and there's a lot of family reasons my heart hurts, but even through that, I have to stay strong, and I have to keep going, and I have to stay positive, and I will always have a handout and ready for anybody that wants to be a part of my life. And so as I go through this journey, and I hope that most of you come with me, I want you to understand that none of this is, I don't ever want anybody to ever feel sorry for me, because I don't feel sorry for me. I feel lucky, because I literally can understand every single person I meet's pain. And I don't have a judgmental bone. I can look at them and hug them and say it's going to be okay. I know it can be okay. You just have to trust and you have to believe. And there's times where it's hard to trust. Trust me, as we talk about it. There's times where you don't understand why. Why, God? Why am I going through this? Why did I go through this crazy childhood? Why did I get abused? God, why was I raped? God, why was this happen to me? There's 1,000 times you can ask that question, why? But all I can tell you is if you stay in the why and you don't get up and walk up and trust and believe that there's going to be a positive, then you're going to stay in a place that will keep you down and you will not succeed and you'll hurt forever. So I'm here to tell you that yes, there's a lot of pain, and yes, we go through a lot of stuff, but you don't have to stay in it. Please don't ever stay in it. Please keep growing. Please keep moving forward. I always say, I'm out there. I have a hand ready for you if you need help through it. It's not easy sometimes, but it's worth it if you fight. It's so worth it in the end that you fight for who you are and what you are. Don't ever allow anybody to tell you anything different. Names that come out of people's mouths are their pain and their hurt. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with who you are. It's within who they are. If someone calls you hurtful names, it's something that's going on in them, not you. So never, ever take what someone else calls you or does to you as something that you are. Remember that, no matter what. So I'm going to read you my verse for this session. It's from Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I know you. Before you were born, I set you apart. And also Jeremiah 1:8. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you. Those two pretty big meanings to me, because God had you planned out from the time you were in your mother's womb. It's you that needs to keep moving forward. And he's right there. When you're ready and want to trust him to rescue you and keep whatever pain that you're feeling and help you, he's there to help, as well as everybody else that's right there to help you too. I hope this helped some of you. I'm trying hard to talk to people, to help people, not for myself, but for you. It's not always going to be easy, some of the stories I'm going to tell you and some of the pain I'm going through, but sometimes you can put yourself out there, hopefully to guide someone else to a better place, and that place is trusting and setting yourself free from any ugly life that you're feeling, and especially if you have the talk in your head of what other people think of you. That's a place that you need to come out of, and you need to come out quick. So again, I love you. I will pray for anybody that needs prayers. Private message me if you want, please. If you need a prayer, or you need some help, you need something, please private message me. Somehow contact me, but I'm always here if you need something. I'm going to say it. God bless you, and he's with you. Please listen. Thanks.